This lesson is on standard deviation. The standard deviation describes the spread of the data. So when you see the word standard deviation, instead of thinking that in your mind, think spread. You kind of substitute them in for one another. The more widespread the data, the bigger the standard deviation. So the wider it is, the bigger the standard deviation. The less spread out the data, the smaller the standard deviation. The standard deviation also tells you the variability. Now, variability means how different your numbers are, how different the data points are. When something has a lot of variety, you have a lot of different choices. So the smaller the standard deviation, the less variability it's going to have. Things are going to be more the same. The larger the standard deviation, the more variability. It's going to be more, maybe some more differences in your data. All right, so the calculator will also give you the standard deviation, which is nice. We are going to be using the SX as our standard deviation in the calculator. All right, so let me show you what I mean by that. So find the standard deviation of 8, 5, 12, 9, 5, 5, 6, 14, 10, 8, and 2. So we're going to put those in stat in our calculator. So hit stat. You're going to hit enter for edit. And you're going to put all of these numbers in L1. All right, if you need more time to do that, just hit pause on the video. All right, we're going to hit stat again, go over to calc, and we're going to choose this first one variable statistics, enter, enter. And we are going to use this SX right here as our standard deviation. So SX equals 3.69. So 3.69. Okay, all right, let's do that with another set of numbers. So in the calculator, remember, we're going to hit stat, and we're going to edit, hit enter. And I'm going to go ahead and clear out these numbers, so clear enter. All right, we got 20, 13, 10, 12, 24, 33, 26, 15, 11, 12, 18, 28, 17, 15, and 22. All right, so you hit stat, go over to calc, and choose the first one. And what are we going to use for standard deviation? We're going to use SX, so 8.16. Okay, all right, number 3, find the difference in the standard deviation between set A and set B. So you need to find the standard deviation for each set. So first, I'm going to put in set A in my calculator. 6, 6. Then hit stat, over to calc, down, choose this first one. All right, so standard deviation 3.2. Okay. All right, now let me find it for set B. All right, 6. All right, so this one looks like it's 2.87 if you round it to the hundredths, 2.87. All right, and let's go back and read the question. It says find the difference in the standard deviation. So difference means to subtract. So I've got to do 3.2 minus 2.87. So you may use your calculator for that. And you get 0.33. So there's a very small difference. So your final answer is 0.33. All right, now we have some graphs. So remember that standard deviation is the spread, so how wide or how narrow it is. So if we look at normal distribution 1 and normal distribution 2, which one is wider? Which one's more spread out? Well, standard deviation 1 is wider. So it's going to have the higher standard deviation. Okay. So A says normal distribution 1 has the higher mean and standard deviation. Well, let's talk about mean in a minute. We do know that normal distribution 1 has the higher standard deviation. So let's keep that answer choice for a minute. B says normal distribution 2 has the higher mean and standard deviation. Well, we know 2 does not have the higher standard deviation. So we know we can strike out that answer. C says normal distribution 1 has the higher mean. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. And normal distribution 2 has the higher standard deviation. We know that's not true. All right, so let's talk about the mean now. What is the other word for mean? Mean is the average. So since normal distribution 1 is symmetric, it looks the same on both sides, its mean is going to be right here at 5. Normal distribution 2 is also symmetric, same on both sides. Its mean is going to be at 7. So which one of these two graphs has the higher mean? Is it 5 or 7? Well, 7's higher, and that's normal distribution 2. So the answer to this one is D. All right, which set of data would you expect to have the greatest standard deviation? So remember that standard deviation means the spread. You could also think of it as the variability. So A, the heights in centimeters of all the students in the first grade classes in a large elementary school. So students in first grade, well, they're pretty much going to be the same height. B says the heights of all first grade teachers. Well, teachers could definitely vary in the heights. You could have some really tall teachers and some short teachers. C says the heights in centimeters of all first grade students and teachers. So you're putting them in the same group and measuring their heights. Oh, that's going to be a big difference. You're going to have a lot of variety in the heights on that one because you're going to have first grade students and their teachers. There's going to be a lot of variety in the heights. All right, let's read the other choices just to keep going. D, the circumference and wrist of all the students in your class. People's wrists are pretty much the same size. And E, the foot lengths of all the teachers. Again, there's going to be a little bit of variety, but the answer choice with the greatest variety is going to be C. When you put students and teachers in the same room and you measure their heights, you're going to get the biggest variety. All right, number 6, which of the following is most likely to have the highest standard deviation? Again, standard deviation is the spread or the variety. So A says the average age of 100 people surveyed at a mall. Well, you got the old people who go to the mall to walk and in their tennis shoes, and you've got people who bring their babies. So we'll see. That one seems like it might have a lot of variety. B, the average age of 100 people living in a retirement center. Well, if you're living in a retirement center, pretty much probably going to be old. C, the weight of 100 newborn babies. Well, babies are all born with different weights, but they're pretty much, 6 pounds, 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds. Doesn't vary much more than that. D, the amount of TVs that 100 households have. Well, most people have 1, 2, or 3 TVs. So I'd say A has the biggest variety. The age of people at a mall, you've got babies and you've got all the way up to, people in their 90s. All right, number 7, the box plot shows the scores of 2 football teams, Team A and Team B. Okay, so I know it's small, but this is Team A and this is Team B. Which team has the higher standard deviation? Well, what's another word that means standard deviation? Spread. So which one has the bigger spread? Which one's more spread out? That would be Team B. Okay. All right, the next part. Which team was more consistent with their scoring? What does it mean to be more consistent? It means you score the same amount of points every time. Not exactly the same, but close. So Team A scored anywhere between 15 points and 30 points in one game. Team B scored anywhere between 9 and 38 points. So which team was more consistent? Which one was more likely to stay within a smaller point range? That would be Team A. Okay. Box plots for 4 competing brick manufacturers are shown below. You've got Adams Bricks, Bob's Bricks, Camille's Bricks, and Daniel's Bricks. Which manufacturer has the least standard deviation in their bricks? Take a minute and think about it. Look at the box plots up there. Which one has the least standard deviation? Well, if you answered Daniel, you are correct. Remember, standard deviation is how spread out it is. Daniel has the least spread. All right, which manufacturer has the highest standard deviation in their brick? So which one's the most spread out? So take a minute and look at that one. And that one's a tough choice. It's between Adam and Bob, but Bob is definitely a little longer. Okay. All right, last question. Circle the graph with the lowest standard deviation. Put a box around the one that has the highest variability. Well, remember, its variability is the same thing as standard deviation. Okay, so let's first talk about the lowest standard deviation. That means the one that's not spread out a lot. So that would be this one in the middle. That one has the lowest standard deviation. It's not very spread out. All right, the one with the highest variability, which is also the highest standard deviation, is the one that's going to be the most spread out. So that would be this one.